I didn't even do anything this time.
Welcome to Wolfpack Chat. Hello. It's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Is it Wednesday?
It is Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. We're back from chat.
Doesn't feel like Wednesday.
Chattanooga. Wonderful race.
Chattanooga.
Wonderful race. Doing a race review. Wonderful race. It's a little difficult, but it's pretty fun. So today, yeah.
Sorry. All in all, it was really good. I thought it was awesome.
Okay. We're going to talk today about swim sidewaysness. Swim sidewaysness. What is a swim sidewaysness?
Well, when you think you're prepared and stuff goes sideways.
Okay, but what does it mean sideways? Describe a sideways thing for you.
I hadn't really swam in a wetsuit, in a triathlon wetsuit, and it threw me for a loop.
But what does sideways mean? Describe what was sideways. What's the actual sidewaysness?
Anxiety.
What does it feel like?
I couldn't breathe.
Okay, what was going on in your head?
I had to figure out a way to keep going, but also get myself under control.
Were you sort of panicking a little bit?
Yep.
What other things were going on in your head? Did you want to quit?
No.
Were you mad that you weren't calm?
Very.
Okay, did that help?
No. Didn't help the situation at all.
It didn't help at all, did it?
No.
No. It made it worse, didn't it?
Yep. And I was trying to get calm. I was trying to get my composure, and I struggled.
And it made you madder.
It made me more mad. That's right.
More mad. Okay. All right. So, that's an example of sidewayness. Some other examples. What other examples can you think of being sideways? Oh, there was another example in your race that was a little sideways. Do you remember? You got kicked in the face?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. Tell us more about the innate things going on there. Not the rational stuff, but more of the, how did it feel? What?
Well, I was making good movement and swimming fast and on my line, or so I thought, and somebody crossed into me and I didn't realize it, and I was cooking along, and next thing I know, it's throwing me for a loop because I get kicked in the face or body in the face, however it was.
What'd you feel?
I don't know. It just, I hate to call it, it's not excitement, but it was a surprise. It was.
Did that throw you off your rhythm?
That's what started it, yeah.
So that's what started, and then you had a hard time getting calm back down, and that's when you were getting mad because you weren't calm?
Yeah, it was, it was early in the race, and so once I was trying to get my composure, I felt like I couldn't breathe so well in the wetsuit because I felt like it was constricting me, and so I would try to get on my back and hold the wetsuit open to try to catch my breath, and when I felt like I was 3 or 4 or 5 breaths in, I felt like I was doing okay, I'd turn over and try to go back to work, and it would it'd throw me off. I mean, almost instantly I was right back to
So you'd take a couple of breaths, and then you were trying to settle in, but your breathing was just almost frantic, sort of, like panicking, sort of.
Yeah.
But not because you were driving it, just because physiologically you were in this state.
I think so.
Of fight or flight.
Yeah.
Okay. Just throwing this out there. Putting yourself in cold water, jumping off a dock into a lake. And then getting kicked in the face is enough to legitimately trigger a lot of fight or flight responses in the body. Everything that we're describing here is very normal, much needed. It's for your survival as a species. So when these things are going on, be graceful with yourself, and hopefully in the back of your mind you can find the area that says, this is normal, I'm not a terrible swimmer, and hopefully that will help with the anger a little bit. Like, give yourself a little bit of grace, because you're putting yourself in one of the toughest positions that a normal person's gonna put themselves in. You know what I mean?
I unfortunately didn't have the chance to go swim with a wetsuit on prior to, because of military and some other situations. So we tried to on Friday while we were there. I put a wetsuit on for the first time, and I swam, and I don't know, we swam 850 yards or so, and it felt fine. Everything seemed fine. I was comfortable. And then Sunday, I mean, it was just, I think everything together. I think if I would have just been in swim trunks, I think I would have had one less thing to worry about, and I could have gathered my composure and done better. But I took what I saw as 90 to 95% of the rest of the athletes were all wearing wetsuits, and I chose to follow the pack and do what everybody else was doing, because I thought I had it. I thought I was going to be okay. If I could go back, I'd try it with just wearing my bottoms, and I think it would have been a different story, and it'd been a faster.
This is a really good example of things going sideways, and one of our jobs is to help you guys minimize the amount of chances of things going sideways. But in this case, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? It was just that one last thing. Had it been you had the wetsuit on and nobody kicked you in the face, I imagine it probably would have been fine. It would have been just like your practice swim. But you didn't have enough experience and enough practice and enough familiarity in the wetsuit to... That wetsuit being tight around your neck is really kind of BS. One of the reasons why I have the wetsuit that I have is, it's really thin on the top. It's two-piece. It doesn't pull in my neck. And if I need to, I can, just really kind of pull it away from my neck. But in the swimming, we need to acknowledge that there are things that we need to do to prep for it. And so we wanted to talk just a little bit, and you guys have, heard a lot of this, but we're just going to reiterate it because it's the beginning of the tri-season, and everybody's kind of getting out. Some of us sooner than others because of the crazy weather. But there are some things that you can do to help. One of them was the workout and the running of focusing on exhaling. If you can find the presence in breathing when you're sort of in this position, calming down, making the exhale longer. He was doing right on flipping on his back and trying to calm down. He just hadn't really been in that situation enough in order to really make it effective. And, it's a new environment, new race, people all around you. It's tough to ask that of yourself. So what are some things that you would say practicing, like 1, 2, 3?
Practicing, I would say, even if you got to take your wetsuit to the pool, give it a couple of goes. Maybe even put yourself in a situation like me. Every third stroke, I'm able to take a breath and like you do in a regular practice swim. Sometimes I'll throw that off on purpose. I'll act like I wasn't able to catch a breath, and so I'll do a couple extra or go to the other side, and I'll throw myself off on purpose to try to try to overcome those situations. Another thing is, if you are in a situation like that where you feel like your wetsuit's tight, or you get into some anxiety and you need to be on your back, even if you take that 10 seconds or whatever and you feel like you're okay, you might take just a little bit more time. Or if you go back to it and you immediately, like I did, struggle again right away, maybe take a little bit more time. And I wanted to do good for the relay team, so I was pushing myself and forcing myself to get back to work, and it didn't really help the situation.
There have been many races that I've had to really take a time out in the water. One race was a couple of months after heart surgery, and it was at altitude up in Boulder, and it was humid, and I'm just getting back into it. If you can get through the first 500 yards, you're going to get warmed up, and this is one of the reasons why I tell you guys run before you swim. That's taking a little bit of the sidewaysness out of the situation. When you can, make sure that you don't add more stress to yourself right before the race. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but do everything that you can to minimize risk and stress, and running before you swim will burn through some of the catecholamines and the help the cardiovascular system warm up. So it's not that culture shock. It's the same exact thing as starting running. That first 10 minutes blows. It's the same thing when swimming, and then you get through that first 10-15 minutes and you're like, oh yeah, this doesn't suck quite that bad. And granted, with endurance training, sometimes that warm-up period is actually a little bit longer. Like, I don't get warmed up real well and feel good until about 3 miles in on running, but I feel warmed up in 10 minutes. So that's one thing that you can do. Not, making sure that all your I's and T's are dotted and crossed, all that good stuff. I lost my train of thought. She can give it back to me. Okay, so like he was saying, another thing that you can do in the pool, he skips breaths sometimes, which is really good. If you ever see the breathing practice, the 3-5-7, and we did a video on that, that's what that one is meant for, to help you to combat the fact when you get a little hypoxic, you're not stressing the heck out. The other thing to do is to circle swim with other people in your wetsuit. So if you were to put like 4 people in a lane and swim and swim back and forth, not necessarily circle swim, but, and just be mindful that you're not going to run into each other or whatnot, but that would be the added stress to help you deal with added stress, but then also with the wetsuit on. You could stand at the top of a swim lane and do burpees in your wetsuit. Yeah, 3-5-7 is no joke. It's I can hardly get to the 7, and when I'm through that 50 doing 7, I'm angry. I'm not a happy camper.
7 does stink.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought again. Can I have it back? Doing burpees on the pool deck, and then getting in the water and not slowing down, not allowing yourself to freak out. But like he said, sometimes you do need a timeout. Back to I got it back. When I was swimming in Boulder, and with the altitude and stuff, the breathing got really bad, and there's sort of a tipping point sometimes on panicking, and I have a tipping point, and I know when I am getting close to it. And I was at that race, and I just had to sit there and breaststroke and doggy paddle for a while. Me personally, I never flip over on my back because it scares me and it makes the situation worse for me. So I've practiced breaststroking. So if you want to keep eyes forward all the time, and it's sometimes you risk flipping over on your back, not swimming straight. If it's choppy, that's no fun either, because the waves wash over your head, because when your eyes are forward, you're automatically keeping your head out of the waves and stuff like that most of the time, unless it's stupid choppy. So I always try to keep my eyes forward and breaststroke. So it's smart to breaststroke in your wetsuit in the pool, and it's fine. All you have to do is rinse it off, wash it off with baby shampoo. Chlorine's not going to eat it. So it's good to do those things, or get into a group. If you have a group, and a triathlon group or a group of swimmers, and if you get somewhere, practice swim starts. Just go out 100 yards and then come back, and everybody stay really grouped up. That will help too with this idea of pushing yourself and learning how to deal with that initial feeling. But yeah, practicing the hard stuff, the fast 50s. We put a video on there as well, pushing yourself on the fast 50s and learning how to use the exhale and control yourself and calm back down. You need to leave room in your mind that when you're doing that, you're just not trying to get faster. You're also trying to learn how to use your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system to calm yourself down without stopping. When it's choppy or the swim is hard, like Ironman Texas last year, the entire swim was a struggle. There was no stopping. It would just make it slower, and you'd get ran over and run into by 1,000,000,001 people. It was a constant struggle. So when you're in those type of situations, it really is, you just need to keep swimming. You need to keep your eyes forward. I don't care if you're doggy paddling. You just need to keep swimming and calm yourself down and try to get back into it.
Take that extra minute to make sure that you are back to your state of strength, where your mindset is correct.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated, I was anxious, I was I don't know, upset, had anxiety. I wanted to prove my worth. I wanted to help the team. It was just so much going through my mind that I was worried more about, helping everybody else or hurrying the situation rather than getting my mind right, getting my composure, and easing back into it.
You can rest on the kayaks. They will not move you forward. You can hold on to the swim buoys.
They did ask me if I want. They saw me struggle, and they were like, "Do you need some help? You can come over here." And I was like, "Nope, just took some water on. I'm good." I didn't want to do it.
Yes.
I wanted to go. And
yeah,
sometimes you need that extra minute. So take that pause.
You do, and if you take the extra minute and whatnot and get yourself back in line, you'll probably have a better chance of getting back to a normal swim stroke and swim pace, and it'll be a little bit easier than if you rush it. So you can hang on to a kayaker. I'd sort of stay away from the boats. The boat idea is more of if you wanted to be out of the water. The buoys you can hold on to, but the buoys are popular and crowded. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of a risk there of getting ran over, kicked again. In his situation, that was probably the tipping point. And so you want to, if that happens to me, what I had to do at Texas, because I got kicked and grabbed and swam on and all that stuff, and it was really making me very upset. So I swam super wide, and I stayed away from everybody for the rest of the swim around the buoys. when John and Kim went out to do their first open water swim, I was teaching them how to swim wide around the buoys first and then cut in. Do not try to hug that buoy turn because you're stressing about whatever, or you're watching people go around it. Swim wide on the buoy. I always kind of go out a little bit and then I'll cut right back in after everything is kind of settled down. You just want to try to navigate that swim, and that starts before the swim. It starts in the morning. It starts with having all your stuff together, having your piles packed at night, not being rushed, knowing where you're parking, knowing what's going on. Get to swim start early. Make sure you have everything that you need, and do that same thing each and every time. If you want it really to work well, you do it each time you go swimming. I have a habit of putting my swim cap, my goggles and stuff, everything that I need for swimming, I put it in my swim cap and I tuck it in my bra right here. And it's just a habit, and so that's everything that I know. And for a race, that's where I'd put my timing chip too. Some people have this suggestion of putting your timing chip on at night. Or if you have the habit of, prepping everything at the hotel or whatever and putting your kit on, put your race, the timing chip on then, and use the little safety pins to hook it in case someone grabs your foot and rips that bad boy off, because that's fun. It's a recoverable error, but it's no fun and it adds stress. If you forget your timing chip or you lose it somewhere right before swim, Ironman races are completely prepared to fix that. You just have to be very mindful that you need to get your tail up to wherever there's officials or volunteers. A good volunteer somewhere is going to know exactly what to do in that swim start area, but swim start areas are very congested. There's a lot going on, so it just adds a whole bunch of stress, and it's kind of like residual stuff. You might get the problem fixed, but you might be angry, or you might be like, good, I screwed, right? And then if you don't kind of like let that go, all this stuff just kind of builds. There's so many things that can go sideways on swimming things, because there's so many moving pieces. I mean, you're dropping this off, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're getting here, you're getting there, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Namaste. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, being some meticulous about some things, writing things down, getting into habits on how you start things is very beneficial on just having a routine, and then you minimize the risk of things. Do some of this prepared stuff, and we'll see more workouts and stuff that help. And then, so while we were talking about resting, taking enough time to rest, the flip side is also valuable. The flip side being, do not entertain all the belly aching. Yes, it's hard. Yes, you're putting yourself into a really tough situation, but I found that there was the balance of being graceful with yourself, but also putting your foot down, giving yourself some tough love, and not letting yourself whine and cry too much. I spent a lot of swims whining and crying, and my swims are always slow. It wasn't until I got to the point of acknowledging that this was hard. I was working through PTSD. It's probably never going to completely go away. And then, like I would do stuff like, this is why I put smiley faces on my face. I had a smiley face or smiley face on my cap, or I had a shark swim cap for a long time. I would try to do fun things for the swim. So, you do need to develop the line of knowing when to be like, just get it done. Stop belly aching. If it says do this, put your face down and get in the water and do it. there is a voice in there that needs to come out at a certain point in time and say, stop. You can do this. Get it done now. If you're in the water and you're in swimming and you're not completely panicking, and swim practice will determine where the line is at as far as, do I need to rest? Do I need to give myself grace? Or do I need to be like, stop, get and go. Stop doing that. Focus on your mantra and stuff like that. That's another aspect of it that is, I think, underdeveloped a little bit. That little mental grit. Because we talk a lot about having grace, and you need to have grace. You're not a fish. You don't have, flippers and stuff like that. But when you're putting yourself into situations, and I think you could identify with this with being in the military, and, police would be and understand this, a position of confidence, of mild aggressiveness is more powerful than belly aching.
Absolutely. Yeah, because if you get let yourself get overwhelmed with the situation, especially in the military or law enforcement or something like that, if you let your anxiety and your stuff overcome you, you're going to be a hot mess, and you're not going to be able to help your buddies, and you could cause more harm than you are good when it comes to something like that.
So that's kind of an extreme comparison, but it is, I think, needed to be said, because you are putting yourself into not the safest position in the whole world, right? You can't just stop and stand up most of the time and be like, there is risk in swimming. And, while I want you guys to love on yourselves and be nice to yourselves, sometimes you do need to be like, dude, stop doing that. Get this done. Most of the time, we are strong enough to be like, okay, get your mind right, get going. And it's safer to do that, especially in swimming, coming from a position of power and more strength. And when you do that, it kind of rides over this panic feeling. So anyway.
Quick thought, step back a little bit when we were talking about preparedness for that morning, what you do. For those of you guys that have some experience with that type of stuff, maybe put in the comments on what you do to prepare yourself in the mornings.
Yeah.
Share with what you guys do, because some of the people that are prepping for their first one or don't have that type of experience might use some of your ideas to take on their first time.
Hi, doggy. Yes. So this talk, oh my gosh, hi, is inspired, and it, I'll just remind you guys, I have come from, almost drowning when I was little and dealing with severe swim anxiety. And so through what we are talking about is how I accomplished, scooch that way a smidge, that swim picture. Okay, that swim picture means so much to me because it is a culmination of a lot of gut, sweat, tears, crying. There were many, many swims I would actually be crying in the pool, swimming with my goggles on, getting pulled out of the water, DNFing races. I DNF NOLA, a whole half Ironman I DNF during the swim. Dog. Sorry. So, you can get to a place of seriously confident. And that's what we are trying to help you do. We want you to be safe for sure, right? For sure. But to be seriously confident and to move out of, I'm just managing the swim, to, it might not be your favorite, but because the swim's not my favorite, but it sort of is my favorite because it's an accomplishment. And each time I go to swim, it's sort of a celebration of the fact that I was able to accomplish a huge feat of overcoming severe post-traumatic stress, severe anxiety, and along the way I learned a lot of things that helps me to be a better human being and sometimes less cray-cray. Sometimes.
I have to say that, which being an instructor, when you make a mistake or you fail at something and it comes to light, it teaches you. And when you do everything good, you don't feel like you need to learn anything because you're spot on. And this particular situation is brought to light that it's not all just easy. Nor has it ever been easy, but what I'm saying is it's there are going to be things that happen, and so we need to make sure that we practice more and be ready for situations like this.
Right. So when we say, hey, do this crazy workout, we try to make the video to understand why we're giving you that workout, or push you to go that extra time, or to finish that time up, or to just be mindful of giving a little bit extra, and trying to push yourself a little bit to practice more, because it is worth it. Whatever your nemesis is, it is totally worth it. It might be easy at the time, it might be added stress, and if you've got a lot of other things going on that it's not the greatest thing in the whole wide world, but don't give up. Figure out, talk to one of us. Derek is always available. If you need to message him and ask him, he's got these supersonic things right here that hear through stuff, and he's like super nice. He's way nicer than I am.
I think she said I have big ears.
And there'll be other people that you can send out an SOS to, and just, you don't have to worry about judgment of whatnot. Barb's on here. She sent me a thing, and just unadulterated, candid, honest feelings. It's safe to send that stuff to me, because more than likely I've experienced it, 10 times. We all have. And you can post that stuff out in the Wolfpack too. And
if you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Because other people have experienced that, and if we can share what we do and how we overcome that, throwing it out there and having people acknowledge this stuff, what the hard stuff that we're trying to do, it takes the power out of it. Hey, yeah, that happens to me too. And then, people will share what they do to help manage some of that stuff, and work through it, because we're trying to develop, evolve into that next best version of ourselves. And we've just got to be real with where we're at and honest and ask for help and stuff like that. So via Messenger, whoever you feel a connection with, and then, on the Facebook group or whatever. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So swim sidewaysness. It'll happen. Try not to get there, but it'll happen.
Get your poop in a groove before the situation happens.
Okay. Have a good day, guys.
Love you.